Are you trying to let go of something? Like maybe it's a negative feeling or a feeling that doesn't feel so good. Maybe it's a relationship or a situation in your life. Well, today, talking about the book Letting Go by David Hawkins, I wanted to share some points that I found really useful for letting go of emotions in particular. And if you stay until the end, I have an extra point for you then as well. As always, if you want to connect with me more on social media, you can find my links in the show notes below. Now, I remember reading the book Letting Go by David Hawkins. Now, David Hawkins is a great spiritual teacher, unfortunately, no longer amongst us. He was an amazing spiritual teacher and he wrote several books. There was like the IDI, Power versus Force was his most notable one. Well, most people told me about letting go. And I remember like going through a hugely emotional time in around, well, it was September, October, November 2023, pretty much a year ago from when I'm recording this. And I remember like going to the Amazon rainforest to go on a retreat and reading this book. And I really had to be in my emotions at that time. And if I'm honest, it's still a work in progress. And it's something I'm going to be working through my whole entire life. You know, there's no end training in the physical gym. Like we never, if you stop, you don't just suddenly eat well and exercise well and then get in shape. Well, you do, but you don't just keep in that shape, right? You got to be continuing doing that. And I believe it's the same with our emotions. Now, I remember reading this book and learning a lot from it. And it was difficult to apply, particularly when you're in an emotional time. Yet over time, what I learned from that book and many other things have really allowed me to let go of some of the more challenging emotions. And I'm going to be honest, there are times in my life when times are more challenging than others, and I really have to practice and embed things. And fortunately, I've got myself a great coach who's really, really great at like the men's work. He's also very good with helping me on connecting myself and purpose and all those kind of things. And that's why I'm really a big advocate for coaches out there. And I'm going to go through some of the main lessons I've learned from like that book and things I've done. But I want to ask you this. If you're going through the same cycles, the same things again and again, and you're just getting frustrated and then you're just doing the same things, then how's that helping you? Because if you're anything like me, it can be very frustrating when you keep repeating the same cycle. So I wanted to just share some points on like letting go of things a little bit more. And letting go does not mean we're never going to have negative emotions in our life again. It's how we really feel them, process them, is what I'm talking about today. Because for our mental health, it can be quite testing if we're hanging on to negative feelings, I personally feel, and maybe you feel the same. So the first thing I've learned is there's repression and there's suppression. So repression, how I've always understood it, is when you've unconsciously put away a memory or an experience that you don't consciously remember, yet it's with you. And you don't do that deliberately. Maybe it's a really painful childhood experience or something really traumatic that was so painful you've forgotten about it, right? Now, suppression is when you're consciously trying to push things away. And we're like, I don't want to feel that, I don't want to feel that. And it pushes it away. Now, by doing that, what I found happens is I get a lot of mood swings. I've had a lot of like mood swings. I'd be like excited and suddenly I'm angry and then I'm sad and all these different emotions. And that's because I hadn't allowed myself to feel the thing I needed to, whether that, and that, if I'm honest, was actually sadness underneath. It was a lot of grief of particularly people I'd lost at a young age. So suppression, I've learned, can actually cause a lot of mood swings, right? It's really important to feel what you need to feel. Now, not every moment of the day, obviously you've got stuff to do, yet allowing yourself every week and ideally a bit of time in your day to feel what you need to rather than suppressing things. The second thing is it's a continual conscious practice to really work and feel your emotions, right? I've been so guilty of this myself. I've been like, right, okay, well, I've been really trying to practice being calm and peaceful, for like a couple of days, I don't feel it, right? It's not like an overnight thing, okay? And that's the world we're kind of trained in. We're like, oh, you're gonna get this instantly, and obviously, if you order things, like it will come very quickly. That's not how training our emotions, and even on the physical side again, our body. That's not how it works. So it's continual consciousness, and it's a lifetime practice of just becoming conscious of maybe going into a negative mood. Okay, I'm feeling that, and this is why I'm feeling that. I'm going to choose a different thing. And that's not about suppressing it, because suppressing would be like, I don't want to feel that thing, and then just like ignoring it. This is about allowing yourself to feel something, saying, I'm feeling really upset right now because someone said this and it actually made me feel like that. And maybe you have a conversation with that person, maybe you don't, right? But being continually conscious of how you're feeling and choosing again is a really powerful practice I found. The third thing, don't resist the resistance. I like to compare obviously exercise, the physical side of like exercise with emotions, as you can tell, because it's a really good analogy I found when I've been learning these things and dealing with emotions. Is don't resist the resistance. It's like you go to the gym, and like whether maybe you're bench pressing or you squat, you go, oh, there's resistance on that, I'm not going to do it. That's ridiculous, right? Because you do not get strong. It's like saying, I want to get stronger physically, but I don't want to face any resistance, right? That's what we do with our emotions, as silly as it sounds, right? It's like, well, I'd love to be emotionally like strong and happy and calmer in this state. Yet when the resistance of something negative comes in, it's like, oh, I'm running away from that, I'm pushing away from that. So if you think about that like you would go to the gym and be like, oh, no, I don't want to do those weights because it's too hard, but I also want to become stronger at the same time. It's crazy how that sounds, right? So don't resist the resistance. Feel it, face into it. The fourth one, acknowledging the shadow side. A shadow side, like you can read up more about this, but this is kind of a part of us that, can be like a hurt side, or it's kind of like a lot of things that we've like felt, which aren't particularly like positive. And allowing yourself to feel into your shadow and not actually pushing it away, because you get some like sad thoughts, angry thoughts. While you don't want to be pushing that away, actually acknowledging it's there and understanding its needs, and that it's part of you. It may be trying to protect you. It may just be trying to communicate something to you, rather than be like, I don't want to feel this like negative, sad bit, because it just gets stronger the more you push it away. So allow, in a bad way. So allow yourself to feel the shadow side of you. And you, like I said, you can read up more on that. And then the fifth one is love is attracted to love. It's a very simple point, but when I've really understood it, it made a lot of sense. Now, we're not necessarily talking about romantic love. Although I found when I've been in a more loving and uplifting place, I've attracted, the right, usually girl into my life. But we're not talking about necessarily romantic love, right? We're talking about love in general, like more loving people who are going to lift you up. Because what I found is when I've been like in a fearful place or negative, like maybe I've attracted people into my life, but actually they had a lot of issues themselves. They weren't necessarily toxic, but I've heard so many people say like, I always attract the same like toxic person, toxic relationship, or people into my life that hurt me, right? Yet they're not living the place of love. They're living the place of fear. So again, it comes back to the other points I said. Practicing love very regularly is very, very key, right? And it's not being like practicing love does not mean you'll walk over. You've got to have love for yourself as well, right? And that's where that's where I personally feel you always need to start loving yourself in a narcissistic way, of course. But love is attracted to love. So start loving yourself and being love. Think about how love would act. If you're like, okay, well, I'm going to do this and then prove myself on social media. That's not love. That's fear. That's like ego. And ego is usually fear. It's like, I need to prove myself to feel worthy. But it's like love. Okay, that person looks like they're really upset on the street and I feel like I want to go and help them. That's love, right? That's an example. Or you reach out to someone because you feel like genuinely concerned about them. That's love, right? So it doesn't mean you have to go out of your way and then serve someone every like hour of your day. We're talking about just becoming and embedding love on a more regular basis. Once again, just want to mention before I get to my final point that if you want to connect with me more on social media, you can find my links in the show notes below as well. So the final point I would say to you is feel into your emotions. If you really have like a challenging one, and this is what I've done, is sit with yourself for 20 minutes. It is not nice. It's crazy how hard it is. It's like you're feeling this resentment, this anger maybe to a situation or a person, certainly been there, and you're like trying to resist it. You're like, no, I don't know. Like it kind of follows what I've been saying already, but just this is a good exercise. Sit with yourself for 20 minutes and allow yourself to feel that fully. Scream, cry, whatever you need to. Get a pillow, right? Try not to break anything, obviously. I've also been there when it's broken stuff in a non-healthy way. So I wouldn't recommend that. But just not when I was doing this exercise, like consciously, just like when I was pushing my emotions too far away, right? But if you really need to let stuff out and feel things, allow yourself to do that. So that's what I recommend on that as well. So that's what I got for you today on letting it go. I appreciate you for being here, and remember to lead with your heart and not with fear.